Hey guys, I want to run through this budget tracking spreadsheet um, so that you can have kind of an idea of some of the ins and outs and some of the benefits of the different aspects of how it's set up. So this is the main place where you put your input. Try to make it pretty versatile, where you can really set it up the way you want with the headings and any or no headings at all, or however you want to do it. Add headings, whatever you want to do. By the way, the orange cells are inputs. So if you wanted to add a heading, you could just copy and paste and put, make whatever heading you want. But in this case, let's just leave it the way I had it. And then here you put your start month, whenever you start using this spreadsheet. And then you start listing your items. Okay, so say your main income is your paycheck. So you list your paycheck, call it income in this column, then say what account it's going to go to. When I say account here, come down to the tabs and you can see you can list up to 8 different accounts that you want to keep track of. So when you input an account here, that's what's going to show up in this drop down list over here to choose from. So just say it's so in this case we're saying it's going into the checking. I call it payee, who's the person being paid, NA because it's me, and it's going into my account. And then you put how much you expect it to be, and then you put how much the actual is. And then like for the rental account, well, let's do that was an income example. Let's just look at a quick expense example. So say you've got you expect for the gas in your car, that's going to be an expense, and you expect to pay for it with this credit card, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you're going to pay Exxon or Chevron or whoever you're going to pay, and you expect it to be this much, and you can put the actual here. As you can see, it's an example of 120. It probably wouldn't end up being exactly 120, but you can list whatever that's going to be there. The transfer, I put this transfer in here so that you could transfer like from one account to the other. So we'll just call it a transfer, and or maybe I'll call it example transfer to keep the names different. And then we'll call this a transfer. And we're going to say that it's going to come from the checking account, and we're going to say it's going into the savings account, and we'll say it's $100. So you should see when we go to the accounts that now your value of your savings account went up by 100, and your checking account went down by 100. So anyway, that's an example of how one of the benefits of using the transfer. A different way you can use it once you see how it works. Like, say you have a rental house and you've got income from that rental house, but you don't really want to use that income. You just kind of want it to go to that account and just accrue in that account, but you don't want to use it to pay your bills and that kind of thing. Then you'll see that you could just call it a transfer and say it's leave this blank is what I did. And I just had it going into that separate rental account so that you can see this rental account here should go up by $16.45 in February when I compare it to January. But it's that $16.45 is not included in my total income. You can see, like if I highlight these two accounts here, it's just that income is based off the paycheck. So that's a different way that you can use it. So once you spend a little time and you set it up the way you like it, your budget, you're happy with it, say, well then what you do is click next month. And what that's going to do is it's going to add the following month over here. You can see it bump it up to March 2020, and it's just going to copy over all the data that you had here in this month except for the actuals. It won't put anything for that. It's going to leave that blank and let you fill that in. But what you can do then is you can just customize it if you need to. Say, for this month, you did have a car insurance payment, of whatever, $800, you have to add that in there, and you can see, oh well, my deficit. Now I've got to see if I can pull money out of one account and move it into the other. And maybe this is a point where you do want to transfer some of this money actually from the rental account to your checking account. Those kind of things. So you can look at that, or different scenarios you can look at. So then you can also customize it by, say you had a new expense come up that you weren't expecting, and and you can add that in here. Car work, you had something done on that, and that's an expense, and you paid that with this credit card right here, and that went to ABC Body Shop, and it cost whatever it cost you, $150 or whatever it costs. So then you can keep track of those different costs, and it'll let you see your total surplus or deficit down here, and it'll let you see your total expenses and your total income for that month. And this accounts tab over here is going to show you what the difference in the balance should be from one month to the next. So when you compare, say, your checking account, what you should see is that it went up by $27.35 when you compare the actual to the or 20. I guess I didn't add in the actual in the actual column. I didn't add that $100 in that I did for the example. So if I went back and I did that, then this is kind of like a good way to let you see how it works anyway. So you can see that now it's you should be able to see that your checking account should have gone up by $26.35.84 when I compare that month, February to January, and then same thing in March. You should see that it went up by $26.35.84 when I compare March to February. So really what it's doing is it's telling you the delta, or the difference between the balances of the account from one month to the next. This is showing you graphically what this data right here, so you can kind of tell, okay, my checking account, it should have gone up by this amount, and a rental should have gone up, tithes should have gone up, credit cards should have gone down, or meaning I need to pay those. So that's it's giving you a quick visual of what's going on in your accounts here. And you'll notice that when you did click that next tab on that next button on this over here on this other sheet, when you clicked it, it did actually add this in here for you. It added March. Let's go over here to stats and let's see what's going on here. So for stats, you can kind of compare the data from a range of months. So since all we have is from February and March, we'll just say we're going to start in February and in March. Then you click update statistics. It'll take a few moments here to run, but once it does, you'll see it populate all the data over here. And this should be familiar to you because it's really similar to the budget tab. It's just showing you your total income for this time frame that you selected, total expenses for that time frame, total surplus or deficit in that time frame. This is all the raw data from those months that you selected. You may or may not use that. It's there if you would like to use it. This also should be familiar because this is very similar to the accounts tab. So it's going to show you in your checking account in that time frame, it should have gone up by this amount. Savings should have gone up by that amount. Rental, so it'll show you the totals for that time range that you selected. Very similar graph or chart that is over here as well. A very quick visual of what's going on in your accounts for that time range, in this case from February to March. And then the budgeted versus actuals, I'm sorry, budgeted versus actuals for your income and expenses. So you get an idea, okay, which is greater here. So in this case, you can see your income is greater than your expenses. Your expenses are greater than your income, which is not what you want to see happen. Running a little deficit. So you'll know that you want to get that fixed. And then whenever you come over to the item summary, this is useful. This is showing you, this is in alphabetical order. It's going to put all the items in alphabetical order, but the order that you see here graphed is going to be from the greatest impact to the least. So you can see that the paycheck is the greatest value of everything in your item summary. So that's why it's number one. But I do want to show you a little trick here that you can do. Start comparing different items to try to basically get rid of any fixed costs or incomes that you really can't do anything about, so that you can start looking at what you can start changing to see how much of an impact you can have on capturing more dollars. So let's run through an example. So say that if I come here to paycheck and I hit delete, you're going to notice that it's going to disappear from the chart. So let me go ahead and do that. Okay, so it disappeared. Okay, so now let's say your mortgage. Your mortgage is really probably not going to change, right? Unless you've refinanced or something like that. So for now, we can just say, okay, let's get rid of that too. Let me actually go through and delete everything that's zeros. And some of these may be headings, and that's why they're zeros. But this will kind of clear up the chart a bit, so that we can get a better idea of. Oh, okay, yeah, put that back. I don't want to get rid of that. Okay. All right, so we got rid of all those things. Okay, so now let's go through each one of these, starting from here. So say tithe and offering. You probably can't change that either. Your rental home, you probably can't change the rent. The guy's going to pay you whatever, or the girl's going to pay you whatever rent they're going to pay you. That's agreed to, and you probably can't change it. So we can take that off of the chart. The next on the list here, groceries. Well, maybe. I mean, that's a pretty high expense. So this kind of lets you see the categories that, well, maybe you can do something about it. The miscellaneous for your wife, maybe you can change that. Maybe you can't. Your windows, well, if you're paying off some windows, you probably can't do much about that. We'll take that off. Your car insurance, you may be able to do a little bit about that, but probably not too much. We'll leave it on there just for now. Electricity, okay, maybe if you kind of cut back on using some of your appliances as much. And restaurant, takeout, yeah, you can do something about that. Your water for your home, you probably can't do much about that. Let's take it off. Your child 529, let's leave that on. Excuse me, let's take that off, because we really don't want to change that. We want to keep investing in the children. Child brokerage, let's leave that on there. Excuse me, let's take it off. Take it off there, because we want to keep investing in them. Gas for your car. Okay, let's leave it on there for example's sake. Your internet, let's leave it. Okay, example transfer, we'll leave that too. Your car work, all right, we'll leave that. The gas for your home, okay. All right, now this kind of really breaks down the categories for you, so you can kind of see some of the items that maybe you can do some things about to have a significant impact to your budget. So let's just start with the most impactful things, your groceries, okay, in this case. $1,500 in 2 months. Okay, you might be able to switch maybe and look at some of your habits. Are you going to Whole Foods? You going to a less expensive grocery store? Maybe you can start look at how you can change your habits there. Maybe you want to use coupons. Maybe you want to start looking at what actions you can take to try to capture some of these dollars that are leaving your pocket. Because every dollar that you can capture, you can use somewhere else. You can put that on your mortgage. You can put that on, you can put that in your brokerage account. You can put that, towards your vacation account. You can put that towards going out to eat, something. your wife. If this is a miscellaneous item, maybe you can start looking at what you can do to change that. Your car insurance, well, I mean, we left it on there. It's maybe you can look at trying to do something about that. You know, try to call different companies. Your electricity, you can kind of see how this is having like maybe not quite a little bit more than a third of an impact to as your groceries is having. So this is kind of helping you see visually, you know, how much of an impact each of these items really are having on your bottom line compared to the other categories. So it kind of helps you to prioritize where to start looking for dollars to save. And dollars to capture. You know, I mentioned saving a few dollars and putting it on your mortgage. You may have, and I have another spreadsheet for looking at mortgages and how to pay those off early. Check it out. Check out the video, because sometimes you might think, well, I got this big, huge mortgage to pay off. What's $100 a month going to do to help with that? Well, actually, $100 a month can have a big impact on paying off your house. Whenever you start looking at time value of money, you start looking at, I mean, it can cut years off of your mortgage payoff. So, yeah, have a look at that. I do try to help you to pay off your house early. This other last bit of data here is it's very similar to the items. Should be related. If you know if the the items you're buying, you know, it's related to who you're paying or your payee. So you can start looking at from this aspect if you'd rather look at it this way from this point of view. So that's there if you want to use it that way. Okay, so hope that you enjoyed this video. Click subscribe, hit like,